All right, going live. And all right, there we go. We're all good to go. So let's start off by talking about the high price guys, the guys expected to lead. And we can start off with Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano there. What are your stances on these guys?
Well, we're going to start out with the toughest question that I imagine that everyone is trying to mess around with. And so I'm trying to find certain data points that's going to make me feel more comfortable. This is the battle every single week in the Cup Series. It's not really like this in Xfinity, maybe sometimes in truck, but Xfinity, you have a good idea who's going to lead laps because there's such a disparity in cars and the package is much more racy. Here, I mean, we do this every week at the intermediate tracks. We try to decide who's going to lead laps without looking at practice data. So I added a couple columns here to look at, who was good at the intermediate tracks. Now, I've actually put in some of the data where they had practice, but I figured I would just do it all. But for the most part, when you look at this intermediate track data, this is intermediate track data, no practice. And then so we see who is a hog, and we rank the drivers with the most hog points on average, and that's fast laps and laps led. And then also I looked at who has the most hog points at the tire wear tracks, and we can debate those. We can talk about that in a bit. So those are two data points that I'm looking at. They're going to try to lean. And then I'm also looking at Homestead. I know you have your own views of what specific tracks that you want to look at. Some people said last night that you were looking at Texas, which I think might be kind of crazy. But we've got to pick a data point to try to narrow this down. And, that's probably where we should spend a lot of time. My number one guy is Denny Hamlin. Where are you?
Or I was going to say, do you want to talk about the tracks that we're looking at and why? And then I didn't hear your last question because I talked over you. I was so rude. So what did you ask?
Go ahead. You tell me the tracks that you're looking at first.
Okay, so this is my train of thought. Since we don't have practice or anything like that, I just want to see the cars that are coming off the trailer towards the end of last year, because that was when the teams were like, okay, we don't have practice. We need to know what we're arriving to the track with. And that was in the playoffs. So that should have been the best cars that these guys would have had. That's the only reason I'm not really looking at the Homestead race last year, because that was only the third or fourth intermediate track that they ran after COVID. I know they ran Darlington twice. They had the Bristol race, but that was only like the third or fourth time they had arrived to one of these tracks.
Darlington, two Charlotte. I mean, I guess it's the fourth specific track, but it's the fifth intermediate track race. The fifth time they've had to set up a car and guess. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
So I mean, that's why I'm looking at the last four 1.5 miles. That's why I'm including Texas, because I know it's a newly repaved track. It doesn't race the same way, but it's still 1.5 mile. And typically, whoever's fast there is usually still fast at Homestead, usually still fast at Darlington. That's why I decided to throw that in.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, so specifically with that Texas race, it was crazy, right? It was raced on a Wednesday, so that really messed things up. It's a one groove on the lower end. There isn't any tire wear. We saw Austin Dillon win this race on old tires because you just could not pass. Mm-hmm. That's completely the opposite of Homestead. Austin Dillon has no tires at Homestead at the end. He finishes 20th. Mm-hmm. So I'm not looking at Texas.
Oh, and also the other tracks, I'm not just looking at Texas, but in case people haven't watched the video, I'm looking at the third Darlington race, Las Vegas 2, and Kansas 2. Those are the four main races I'm looking at to see.
You're leaning playoffs. I'm in the opposite direction. I'm looking at all of them. So if you look at the spreadsheet, you can decide which data point you want to use. If you want to go with, what did they do overall? Now, again, this factors in the first Las Vegas and the first Fontana where they had practice, but I really don't want to throw out that first Fontana race because Fontana is a close track in comparison to kind of a high groove and tire wear. So I'm going to count it. So if you look here, you can see that last year at the intermediate tracks in this package, Kevin Harvick was number one in terms of hog points on average. You can go with that, or if you want a more narrowed down version, which is where I kind of differ from you, you don't have to look at this. You can look at the high tire tracks. And so let me just put that up. If you go to, I got to get out of full screen view, go to racefortheprize.com and you go to the weekend notes. I've got a link here. Let's see if we pull it up. Bear with me, people. Right down here where you can see the tire wear comparisons. I ripped this off from NASCAR. And you can see the high tire. This is from 2018. So I'm trying to think. Texas was already repaved at that point.
It was already repaved, yeah.
Okay, so you can see Atlanta, Homestead, Auto Club, and then Darlington. That's where I'm actually going to put Charlotte too. That's where I'm putting the cuts. You got Las Vegas there. You've got Kansas right here. You got Texas right here. You can factor them in, but in my tire wear comparison, I do not have them. That's where I'm leaning. Those are the tracks that I'm looking at for my analysis and trying to predict these hog points. And at this point, people are probably just saying, just give us the damn picks. Like researches 4 or 5 days ago, just give us the picks.
As many as we're going at this 2 drastic different ways. I guarantee we're ending on the exact same guys.
Yeah, we got to narrow it down.
Yeah, it does narrow it down. Like for me, I have Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick being my 2 favorite guys going in this race.
You don't worry that Harvick really, that 2019 race, he did have a significant amount of points early in the race, but he definitely faded. And you're the one who says that these championship races, we shouldn't look at them. That was definitely a race where they said, all right, let the leaders do their thing.
Yeah, but this is Harvick at a 1.5 mile. And
yeah.
Look, and everybody who's like, oh, he ran horrible in the playoffs. He was wrecked in the playoffs, left and right. He was fast at all 3 Darlington races, if you want to look at all 3 of those races, but specifically the last one. He was fast. He was running third. He just lucked out with the win when Chase Elliott and Truex wrecked there. Texas, he arrived with by far the fastest car, pulling away from the field, even though he was out in front, pulling away from the field 4 times before he got in the wall because it was raining. And then, Chase Elliott is right behind him. Chase Elliott had the fastest car at Vegas. He lost that because we had a late race yellow. Darlington as well.
So are you worried that this race is won and lost on the wall and Harvick just will not get on that wall? If it goes green, you've got to go on the wall. Harvick refuses to do that. I don't know how he's going to get away with that.
I don't think he needs to. To be fair, because in
the long run, we know where the fast laps are going to come from. They're either going to come from A, someone who's off on tire strategy. We've seen that. We saw it again last night. Or B, someone who's running the wall. It's not necessarily going to be a leader running a casual line.
Yeah, obviously I would much rather. I think I'm more on Harvick.
Let's say he's leading at the end. Right, we look at the laps led at the end of the Homestead race last year, and we know Hamlin was comfortably in the lead, but we can look and see that Hamlin was not scoring fast lap points. Mm-hmm. He was not running the fastest laps. Let's say even if Harvick is up at the top of the end, he's not going to score fast lap points, and we can even see that in Hamlin's data last year. I guess if he wins and he leads laps, that's going to be enough, but you are pretty much – I just don't see him holding anybody off at the end. Look last year, Hamlin didn't get that many fast lap points for a guy who was up front for most of the race, or a significant part. I think that's really interesting to me, is to see. I just don't see Harvick getting fast laps under any circumstance. He has to stay up front and lead up front at a track where he won't run the wall.
The fast lap I can predict fast laps up until someone blows a tire or up until his first competition caution. And we saw it last night with Josh Berry. As soon as he pitted, he took all those fast laps towards the end of the race. And we've seen it happen multiple times here to where fast laps are usually given to whoever's the fastest car. Everybody starts off in the same tire strategy, and then it's the first person that pits is right there, or on a restart. Like if on this first competition caution, I assume everybody's going to take 4 tires. There might be someone who decides to take 2 for whatever reason.
They'll take. Well, again, I said yesterday that no one was going to do this stupid Galaxy Brain, and they all did it. And they all just. I just cannot believe those fools were taking tires early in the race. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about last night, man.
Yeah, no, the chat doesn't want to talk about last night either. That thing was a mess. If anyone came out of that thing unscathed, congratulations. That is awesome for you. But there were landmines everywhere. You got one thing right, you got another thing wrong. Let's just focus on Christ,
man. All right, let's see. So,
let's come back to this. Yeah. We have a general idea of where we're. Let's take an easier question first, or an easier approach first, and try to look at some of these place differential guys instead of tackling this really hard question of who's going to be the hog. That's always the battle. I think it's definitely going to be the battle for for the first race of the year. Let's just find the easy place differential people that are going to be in your pool. Is that fair?
That's perfectly fine.
All right. We'll go from back to forward. DiBenedetto, is he in the place differential pool?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to rank these 4 guys after we talk about them, but
Reddick.
Yes.
Chastain.
No.
Okay, that's interesting. Italicize him. I think he should be there. Byron.
Yes.
Now, maybe not Chastain, but he's worth a conversation. Briscoe.
Yes.
Okay. Alfredo.
So this runs into the same.
Actually, I'm not being fair. Let's just talk about the obvious ones and not the value ones, and we'll come back to Alfredo. We might come back to Chastain. That's stupid because they're not on the same tier. Kyle Busch.
No.
Wow. But you agree that he should be talked about.
Yeah, he should be talked about.
You're not.
I mean, Reddick worked last night out of sheer attrition because everybody else who had fast laps and everybody else who was doing well, like
stop making excuses. You're already doing it. Sheer attrition. Well, you knew on a long run he was going to be a monster.
He had 2 fast laps. That's not a monster.
It's because Josh Berry was poaching laps. He was very methodical. I can't believe we're talking about this Xfinity race. He was very methodical. He knew what he was doing. He was not trying to get up to the front at the very beginning of the race. He was very conservative on tires. He didn't go with the aggressive get tires at stupid times. He's waiting for a long run. And, of course, on the long run, he got the 2nd place.
So Kyle Busch seems like the exact same play to me for Reddick, in my opinion, pure differential.
Okay,
Kyle can get up to 5th, 6th. I don't see him leading laps. I don't see him getting fast laps.
I don't. So that's the difference. I could make an argument for Reddick getting 10 hog points. It's gonna be tough for Kyle Busch. 2, Tyler Reddick was racing against bums. This is not the bum series, and this is not the bum package. And everyone's going to get on the wall. And with the high downforce, there's so much more dirty air to deal with. I mean, you said it yourself. Like, the package last night's awesome. There's actual racing happening.
Oh, yeah.
It's not tonight. Once they fan out, and Ryan Blaney was talking about this, once everybody gets on the wall, it's really hard to make any moves because everyone is in your line. And it's hard to get forward. You can get there, but it takes a lot more time.
And we saw last night that, I mean, even in the Xfinity series with, like a micro spoiler compared to what they ran in the Cup Series, people were still getting in the air and getting in the wall. Now you can get away with that in those races, in those cars. I mean, if your driver, if any driver, is behind somebody and they get in that air and they get in the wall, I mean, your race is done.
Yeah, you can't take right rear damage.
No.
You're done. I mean, we saw, or even nose damage. Joey Logano got nose damage in this race last year, early in the race. That's it. Toast. Gone. They got to do something about that. That's the worst thing about this package is it's like IndyCar in a way. Like, these guys still race these intermediate races like it's stock car, but these cars can't take any damage whatsoever, or they're toast at these packages. And tire rub, God, it's a mess.
Just wait till next year. It's going to be even worse.
But you know what? I mean, not to be completely negative, but the short track racing has improved. The road course racing has improved, I guess you could say. But the packages work there. All right, Austin Dillon. I don't know if you consider him a place differential guy. I kind of do. So I'm going to ask.
I do. I'm leaning. I've moved more towards Austin Dillon now than in the beginning of the week, but it's more so out if I end up on him again. Kind of same argument with Reddit.
Stats aren't bad.
Alfredo. We'll get there.
Let's see. All right, let me see. I'm going to cut it there. We can make an argument for Bubba Wallace as place but I think inside the top 20, that's not really place differential. So these are definitely the guys. All right, so from this list of DiBenedetto, Reddick, Byron, Briscoe, Dillon, and we're not going to have Kyle Busch in this conversation, and that's fine. He probably is too expensive. Probably can't work. I have no problem if people are going to completely fade Kyle Busch. I have no problem with that. Who are you ranking number 1?
Probably William Byron.
Okay, yeah, that's probably. And
you can
dollar-wise, I have
make an argument for Reddick as well. They're probably 1 and 2 depending on how you're looking at them. I think I'm more. Let's see. I think I'm more on Byron because of his price tag.
God, he is still popping way too high. What's going on? What is my projection for this guy? I mean, he can finish 5th. Man, I just took his hog points down to 10. He is still ranked as the number one play. If I give him none, he's still number 2. If he earns not a hog point, not a single fast lap, which I think is crazy, and he finishes, we'll say 10th. This is very conservative. Still the 4th. How do you fade him? And I know your answer is going to be, well, he could hit the wall.
Well, he could hit the wall. I mean, he could hit the wall. He did last night. But, look, I was much more – and I defend my call of fading.
No, it's fine. Like, I get it. And it almost worked at a point, and then it just went green, and we saw who was good and who wasn't, and everyone wasn't. It was Gregson. It was Reddick, and the other guys just couldn't do it.
Yeah, what really killed me was the freaking Star incident. So
I killed everybody.
I'm so
that one will be remembered forever. Everyone's going to remember that, and that's something we do need to address real quickly. It's going to prevent people from playing David Starr in the future because everyone hates this guy.
That car was awesome. I can't believe he was that fast.
He was bailed out by. He was good. There was a lot of cautions. There's a lot of weird things going on. If this is a green flag race, he's 2 to 3 laps. What are we doing? We can't talk about this. We'll say people want the damn cup picks. I'm sorry. All right, so I understand Byron, but man, this is a real conservative call on Reddick, and he is still. I'm going to give Reddick over that. I would say. It might be Byron's less likely to wreck, I guess, because he won't be up on the wall. But I'll go Reddick over Byron. Who's number 2? You've got to at least have Reddick at number 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I said those guys are 1 and 2. You can make an argument for however.
I just 1 and 2.
Yeah, I just have Byron ranked because I liked his price, and I think people are going to go to Reddick far more than Byron.
How much? I think he's got to be top 5 in ownership.
I think Reddick's number probably 2, and then Byron would probably be.
Was he 50% last night?
He was 50.9.
I thought he'd be higher.
I thought he would be too, man. I thought he would be too.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
I take Briscoe for the discount, and I think this is a top 15 car. Like that's where Custer has been, and I think, I think Custer's a better driver than Briscoe, but this car should run like 17th, 16th, 15th, and that's all I need for that price.
Yeah, if we look at the laps last year from Clinton Boyer, he ran pretty much in the 15s all night. 10th most laps inside the top 10, 42% of his laps. He was, he finished 11th. So the equipment should be halfway decent. I do worry about funding. I don't think that's going to be a big issue this early in the season, but later on, if this team can't get sponsorship, which it hasn't, and I talked to you about this, the only reason he's in this car is because of Ford. It's not an SHR placement, technically. Mm-hmm. Byron or Boyer retired, and so I guess we'll put Briscoe there. But I think early in the season, he'll have the funding. It's just, can he race these cars? Mm-hmm. He worries me a little bit, but the discount's definitely going to make him number 3. And then I'm assuming, I don't know, where are you going to go next? DiBenedetto or Austin Dillon? That's a significant. That's $1,100. And
it's got to be Matt DiBenedetto.
Really?
I hate to say it. Well, are we
it's
looking at it as
to play him though?
Are we looking at it as a place differential or just straight upside?
Well, I'm looking at value. I mean, when you look at, because the issue is that we're assuming that we're already playing probably Byron, Reddick. The 8,800 is a really high price. It's going to make it, once you go to DiBenedetto, we're going to more than likely end up with a pure garbage play. If I go to Austin Dillon, I may not have absolute garbage in my lineup.
Let's see. I have good old Matt getting 21 positions.
Uh-huh. I've got him one more than that. And
yes.
So, that's his ceiling, though, 15. And he can maybe do a little bit better. He suffered damage early in the race last year, still was able – he ran well. He ran well with damage, had some adversity. That's good news. Should be okay in this race. It's just the price tag. I think I'll go with Austin Dillon first over to Benedetto just because of price.
Let's see, I have them separated by about 6 points right now in favor of Matt Benedetto, but at the price that Austin's at, I like it. I just thought we were talking about place differential right now.
Okay. Yeah, well, obviously, if you're just chasing place differential,
yeah.
22 versus 12. That's for sure. Finishing position wise, I think Austin Dillon could finish better. And well, I would, I don't think I know, or I feel pretty confident there. And price, point per dollar wise, Dillon, I get it. Let's look at some questions.
Do we even have any questions?
I don't know. There's got to be something over there.
There's got to be. Let's see. They're talking about Whataburger.
Got to move on. We can complain about Xfinity next week. We will.
I know one guy's wanting us to talk about Bell. This is the closest thing we have to a question. If you guys have questions, feel free to leave them in there. But let's talk about Bell for a second.
So you've got Adam Stevens. Well, here's the first thing. If Christopher Bell doesn't win last week, are we talking about Bell? And my answer is no, we're not. And did Christopher Bell, so he won at a road course. That was a wreck fest. I mean, if he wins at a plate race, I know plate race and Daytona road course is the Daytona plate race road course. Mm-hmm. So if he wins at Daytona, like Michael McDowell, we're talking about Michael McDowell, he's up in 6th place. He won the Daytona. People say, you're crazy. Well, then why are we talking about Christopher Bell? Mm-hmm. And people are going to just it's kind of a confirmation bias thing, I think, or they're going to try to just argue their point and say, well, I want to talk about Bell, so I'm going to find a bunch of points to defend that. And they're going to say, well, he's got this crew chief that was good with Kyle Busch. Oh, okay. But Bell never really did well in the Xfinity Series at this track. He struggled. He's not a driver that likes to run the wall. He's been vocal about that in the past. When they ask him during the Xfinity Championship, I don't really like running the wall. I know people think that I want to run the wall because I run in the dirt series, but it's different. I don't feel comfortable doing it. And in those Xfinity Championships where he had the best car, he refused to run the wall, and he lost every time. Mm-hmm. He's got to beat some big dogs and some really good equipment. This one feels like Galaxy Brain to me.
Mm-hmm. And he has to hold on. Like, this is, even if he doesn't lead, he needs, I don't think he can be optimal if he doesn't get fast laps or anything, but if to do well, he needs to hold at least the top 5 for the entire race. And that is very hard for me to imagine.
Well, intermediate tracks weren't really his thing in the Xfinity Series. He had the best equipment, and he would lose to Custer. He would lose races to Reddick. He would lose races to whoever in the Cup Series was coming down. His strengths were the short tracks. Did he win a couple of intermediate tracks? Yeah, because he had better equipment than everybody. In some races, he put it together, and other people just didn't have it. But he was not as good as he should have been at the intermediate tracks. And you can look at his stats from last year. They were not that great. I know the equipment wasn't that great, but to me, it looks like a guy who's still trying to figure it out. And if I miss today, that's fine. But I can't play him because he ran well at the Daytona road course. Mm-hmm. Can't do it. That's a different package, too. And you would think, like, hey, yeah, in a low downforce package, that's where Bell probably would run better. In a high downforce package, we have not seen him. Yeah, he finished 8th here last year. So if you want to take that, I get it. But if he finishes 8th, that's not good enough. He needs to win. Well, he needs to finish what? I got him 5th just because I don't want to take him out of my pool completely. But if he finishes 5th, that's 5X. That sucks.
No. Yeah, you're going to get, I mean, head to head, in the same price range, I'd much rather play Austin Dillon for $100 too. Yeah, or Busher, not Busher,
or Eric Almirola.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we got some questions to go over, which is way better than not having any. Real quick at you, let's talk about Harvick and Hamlin. Who do you like better between these two? I see that you got Hamlin getting quite a lot of hog points versus Harvick.
You like Harvick over Hamlin because of Harvick, mainly just his whole resume last year, and you can't argue with it. He had the most hog points at the intermediate tracks, and the majority of those were no practice races. He 3rd at the high tire wear tracks, 1st in terms of finish at the high tire wear tracks. Now, that's a little skewed because he won a Darlington race that he shouldn't have won. I know you're saying, well, he won at Darlington. Yeah, but that was a Truex Elliott race.
No, I didn't say that. I said he won, but he was 3rd.
Okay,
until they I didn't say he won that race. Come on now.
But you're mentioning it like, I don't know. Anyway, So I think that's fine. My worry with Harvick is just he hasn't performed well at Homestead. Hamlin early this week didn't even care. He's like, restart the restart. If you get a push, cool, but it doesn't really matter unless it's a short run at the end of the race, which tells me he feels pretty comfortable with his cars, with his setups on long runs, and that's where the Hulk points are going to come from. Cool, if you've got a short run and you win the race. That might, I mean, obviously, if Harvick wins the race, he'll probably squeeze into the optimal lineup, maybe. But these expensive drivers, we really need on long runs, fast laps, laps led. He seems confident with that. And we saw him do it last year. He lost almost all of the restarts until stage 3. No big deal. He just eventually worked his way back up. You can look and see, hey, the first restart of the race, he loses it. And we have all these short runs at the beginning of the race, which hurt him. But eventually, the race starts going long. There it is on lap 76. He takes the lead. Loses another restart. Oh, no, this guy's killing me. Well, you get halfway into the run. Guess who's in first place again? Hamlin. And then on these, and that's where he's getting all these laps led. And that impresses me. That's what I want. They have a plan. They're working for long run speed. That's what I think will happen here. If we're just looking at the evidence that we're working with, hard to go against Hamlin. So that's where I'm leaning. Can't fault anyone for taking Harvick. Will he lead early in the race? Probably not. He's probably going to lose the first restart. Logano will probably get shoved to the lead.
I'm worried that Hamlin doesn't lead to start up until the competition caution, and then he doesn't lead after the competition caution.
If he can stay in the front he will eventually get out there. The car was just too good last year. They guessed right with the setup. Now, they could guess wrong with the setup. There's nothing we can do about that. That's we're trying to guess who's going to guess with the setup. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about this one. Is this race more about the quality of drivers as opposed to the starting positions? I know, like, pretty much the start of the year, we've been playing place differential guys, and if you get a dominator or a lap leader out of that, it works. But how would you sum this race up in that?
You go first.
So I am going to try and fit as many people in my lineup that I believe can finish on the lead lap, which will probably end up being around 15th or 14th if this race goes long. So really just looking at guys that have top 10 upside. I know that's kind of vague, but if I can get those guys, those would most likely be the guys who are going to lead laps. So people like Harvick, people like Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott.
How many were on the lead lap last year? 15.
15, yep.
Yow. Yikes. A lot of those guys got bailed out early in the race, too.
Yeah, so, this is a race that I don't want somebody trapped a lap down, and that's going to really – that's almost going to weigh more than what somebody's upside is in a sense of, like, that's why I'm going to be heavy on Alex Bowman. Maybe Austin Dillon, imagining that he can race in 14th, 13th area there. And maybe that works for Hamlin and Logano. Maybe I'm being too harsh on those guys, but that's how I'm looking at it.
Well, I got to nail the hogs, and then I really want to pick some of these place differential obvious plays, and then probably just find someone, like you said, that's going to hang on to the lead lap. I don't know what we're going to do with these cheap value. Like, I haven't really started. What did the optimizer do? So this is.
I bet you it throws Alfredo.
No, it did your play.
What did it do?
So it likes Hamlin. It likes Elliott. I could see pivoting off of Elliott. Bubba Wallace, William Byron. Look who it put in.
So, okay, I was not going to talk about this.
I was just messing around last night with just messing around the spreadsheet. So I streamed while I was messing around with it. And I talked at the beginning saying that because someone mentioned like the ugly punts, and I said that you have a crazy iddia.
Okay,
I wasn't going to say who it was or anything about it, and then it popped up. I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you why he likes him.
So
he mentioned this loser.
Yeah, so I mentioned to Pearce, and I wasn't going to mention this, but since it's popping up and it's like, okay, so I have a lineup with BJ McLeod in it. One lineup, okay? I'm not going all in on BJ McLeod. This is not my Derek Cope play, but optimizers are liking BJ McLeod. So I went into it, and I looked into this Live Fast Motorsports team, and they're buying engines from Roush, like Roush Yates engines and stuff like that. And from everything that I found is that they are not getting like discount engines from them. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for Roush to, give them an underperforming engine and then slap their name on the car. But Roush has never just given out good motors to like these backmark teams and stuff, like Rick Ware, Starcom. These guys never get factory support or factory motors at least. And if you've looked this year, they announced that they were going to work with Live Fast back in December, and they're putting BJ McLeod as a car that has their power behind them. And like if that's the case, looking at it, and this is me going really into the weeds to look at the Daytona lap speed by themselves or by himself. Whenever BJ was leading the lap cars around, which wasn't on the broadcast, but he was leading the cars behind, he was really quick in the air. Like he was on par with some of the faster guys. And so
McLeod lap speeds here.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, it's in the red because they're underfunded cars in the back. Everybody's in a pack.
He's got a better car this year.
Yeah, he's got a better car. Oh, I thought you looked at Daytona.
No, I'm looking at Homestead.
This isn't a bad car. I don't think it's any worse than the Rick Ware cars. I think it's better than them. McLeod has never he's never starting parked. He doesn't have mechanical failures. Back when he was running this car at the Coca-Cola 600 last year, at Homestead last year, this was when he was running, pour in motors and pour in equipment for, what's his price again?
46.
Yeah. This is what I said, like, a punt starting 34th, for that price isn't bad. And then add the fact that it's BJ in a car that might actually be better than some of the other guys, bump that up even more. And then if you have my support behind him, bump him up just a tad more. I think BJ McLeod is the only punt worth playing.
Well, I've only got him finishing 30th, and the optimizer is saying it still could possibly work. And I'll still man it a little bit more. His partner's Matt Tifft. So you look at Matt Tift's career, and Tifft bought a ride at RCR. He bought a ride at JGR. I don't know how much he bought his front row motorsports car, but then also you look and see like Tifft has had significant serious health issues. There's no reason for him to just do I would imagine that the way that Tifft lives his life 100% is just all in. I want to do things 100%. I don't care what it costs. So I can't imagine that he's just going to buy or put into a bum ride. I would imagine they've put a decent amount of money into this BJ Motorsports car, that it's at least competitive with the Rick Ware cars and can fight for that 30th place position. And on a good day where the brakes go their way, can finish 27th or 28th or 29th. Mm-hmm. But let's not lose our minds and think it's a good car. It's just, let's make sure that we're comparing it to the bums in the back. And, let's say he beats the bums in the back. There's some wrecks, mechanical failures. He could finish as high as 28th. I'm not going to put that in the projections, but if you want to, you can. That puts him at 4.4, and I'm afraid that you do that, and the optimizer is going to just become incredibly infatuated. Yeah. Oh, that's Blinky. Incredibly infatuated with BJ McLeod. Takes him to 4.3. So it's just that. All right, enough BJ McLeod talk.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay, what else do we have here? We've already talked about.
Yes, someone like, all right, these guys are out of their minds.
Yeah, it's like, oh man,
yesterday was down. BJ McLeod talk. Sorry, we didn't talk about everything. Like, what we were talking about starting park yesterday.
Do you think this is more of a place differential or a fast lap leader? I think it's more of a fast lap leader. If you're going at a pure place differential, you're making a mistake.
Unless, of course, like the trick there is always going to be people combining the two, because you could get fast laps from Tyler Reddick, and so he really doesn't count in that conversation. We look at last year's optimal lineup, and Denny Hamlin, Hogg, Ryan Blaney, Hogg, Chase Elliott, Hogg, and then you've got Dylan's just a value play. Almirola just really hit his ceiling. I wouldn't consider Eric Almirola for 22nd a place differential play. He's a guy that could go forward. So mainly these guys really, it's top 7 finishes.
Yeah,
I mean, like you mentioned before, I need guys to finish up front. If they get place differential, awesome. But I need people that are going to finish up front. I need people that are going to score hog points. I guess the bigger question is it going to be 2 or 3 guys? I think it'll be 3 guys with significant hog points, maybe even 4. I mean, you look at the lineup, you've got 4 guys with over 20 hog points. Now, one of them got place differential, but I think that's pretty clear. Let's see the year before that. Now, this is where it gets weird, though, because we're looking at a different style of race being a championship race and the pricing being the way that it is. But I think even Blaney squeezed into that off the lineup. I think hog points are going to be important. Laps led, fast lap are important. And you got to really nail those.
If you go back at that and look at the Homestead Optimal, that's a great example of, there's not a lot of bums in that lineup. You could, all those cars are good cars. There's not a bad play.
Let's make one caveat, though.
Okay. This
is a pricing error, though. For Eric Almirola at 6,300 starting 21st, that was way too cheap.
There's misprices left and right in this race.
So, what I'm saying is that if look, you got to get all good guys. Yeah, but we don't have a huge, that's too easy. Austin Dillon at 6,200. You didn't really like it, but he's worth more than that, especially based on his previous stats. If these guys were priced correctly, you can't get them both in the lineup, and you end up with somebody a little crappier. He should be 7,000, shouldn't he? At least.
I see Stenhouse, Jones, I hate to say it, but Newman in pretty much the same situation this week.
I was looking at Newman's stats, and he wasn't terrible to close the season out last year. But he overall was pretty terrible.
He's trash, man. He's so bad.
But he was bad at this race last year, but that damage that he suffered really didn't help. Stenhouse, this is not weak for Stenhouse for me. I can't do it.
All right, we're getting the backlog of questions here, which is good. Okay, so any love for Eric Almirola for GPPs?
Yeah. I think the first place I want to go is Austin Dillon, though. But so GPP-wise, I think he switched up and go to Almirola. But again, that might just be being too cute. Maybe you build with both of them. So then also building, I think Briscoe's going to be popular. So Almirola will be the lowest owned of the 3. And it might be a really smart play. But it still can lose just if Austin Dillon does what he's supposed to and Briscoe does what they're supposed to do. They're just cheaper and have more upside. And I know Eric Almirola went on a tear last year starting at Homestead, and then he cooled off. I don't know. I don't know if that was a little bit more of an outlier performance from him. He's fine, but I admittedly will have more Dillon than Briscoe. Where are you at?
I'll probably have more Briscoe than Dillon, but I mean, slightly over, and they'll probably be paired together in a lot of lineups.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Almirola is 3, but it's smart. The ownership's going to be higher on these guys if you really kind of want to sort. But then, you need both of these guys to fail. If Dillon has a good, unless you have them like Almirola and Dillon or Almirola and Briscoe, then you only need one to fail. But if Dillon has a good day and Almirola has a good day, well, you lost. If Briscoe has a good day and Almirola still, you lost. I guess paired together works.
All right. Let's talk about Suarez and Lejoy really quick.
We probably should throw Alfredo in that conversation too. I think someone mentioned Alfredo.
So these are interesting. So I guess I'll start with this one. I'll talk about Suarez. I don't know what this car has. I still don't. It's performing a lot better than I imagined it would.
Did it though? Oh, okay. Better than what did you expect it to do though?
Well, see at Daytona, I was like, okay, maybe he's going to race up right. He's going to try and lead lap. Obviously, he got wrecked at Daytona. We can't really look at that. But at the road course, he wasn't the slowest car in that price range. He wasn't the worst play in that area. He's 5,700 here. If he can, I think.
All right, let's look at his laps because I know he did some smoke and mirrors. I know it's a Daytona road course, but we really do need to understand how good is this car for Suarez.
Yeah, I know he led. I'm not looking at the fact that he led laps in that race. I'm looking more at where he was running in that race compared.
Yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at the lap by lap for Suarez because he didn't end up finishing all that great, and half the field wrecked out. So And he had track position and clean air. All right, let's find Suarez and look at these laps and see if we can get some sort of understanding. I know it's a Daytona road course. We'll just look at his positioning. All right. First run, he moves up to 20th. I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the cautions mark. I apologize. Kind of moves forward here. I don't know if there's pit cycling. This is where he plays games with pit road.
Yeah, so he stayed out on lap 34 to get the lead.
And then he drops back. And I know it's kind of small, guys. There's not much I can do. But remember, racefortheprize.com. You can look at these spreadsheets for free on your own. He drops back right there. But again, doesn't completely go terrible. Kind of running in the back. At the end, on this last run, kind of worked his way up. But I think if he's a 20th to 25th place car, that's pretty good. I did not expect him to have that good of a car.
I think that's where he is, and this is like Justin Marks is kind of on the same page as Matt Tifft and BJ McLeod that they really want to invest in the Gen 7.
Don't forget Mr. Worldwide, is his name?
Well, no, because we're trying to keep it on the lowdown, not really put a whole lot of emphasis on Pitbull, because I don't think Pitbull cares one way or the other. I really don't.
Yes, he does.
He is. He's going to throw money at this, but
who knows what Pitbull's doing?
I think Suarez should be like 63, 6,400.
Yeah, that's fair. And I've got him finishing, I think 20th again is so that would be about 24 fantasy points. That's a really good day for Suarez. Really good day is to him finish 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And point per dollar wise, 21st in rankings. You really kind of need him on the other side of that. We need like a top 20 day from our value. Well, since he is under 6,000, I just really need a little bit more. It's pretty close. Lejoy, I have no interest in whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? I don't know. I just can't see these Spire cars being good all of a sudden, or that good all of a sudden. And he's just starting too close to the front. It might be a lateral step from what he was racing last year to what he's racing this year. And there's a lot of buzz because of all the quickie stuff and Steve Letarte, but Lejoy's not a great racer, doesn't have great equipment, and he's got to beat people. So I don't see that. Where do you stand on Lejoy?
I'm the same way. I would lean more towards Suarez. So this is my way of thinking: is that this is going to tell us where these cars are. It's going to tell us where Suarez, Briscoe, Chastain, Lejoy, Alfredo, and a couple other guys where they are at this year. And,
I mean, it's Homestead though. It's a little.
But it's an actual
tell us what we need to know for Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an actual racetrack. It's not a road course and it's not a plate track. So we're going to learn more from this race than anything we've seen so far. So say if Suarez or Alfredo do better than we expect, I expect them to be chalk at Vegas or more down the line. So with that, sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead.
Oh, so with that in mind, I would, if I had to play any of these guys, I'm probably going to play Suarez. I don't want to play Lejoy because I don't trust the car. And Anthony Alfredo was popping off in my optimizer yesterday when I was messing around with lineups. And I don't like the fact that we're being kind of force-fed Alfredo. So I would much rather just take Daniel Suarez and see what he does. Because if he does well, we're going to see the wave just follow him, the next month if he does something. Whereas I think there's going to be a lot of ownership on Alfredo due to lineups just having to go there, and that's why I'm slightly higher on Suarez than Alfredo.
All right, let's take the game theory stuff out for a second, and let's take out the unknowns. We don't know equipment wise. What do we know? We know starting position, and if that's one of the factors, then we say it's Alfredo. If we look at price, that's equal. There's not really much of a difference. They're not, they're separated by a couple $100. So really, one of the few things that we have that we know for sure is place differential that clearly sides Alfredo. We look at cars, and if we don't know, but if you had to guess who has the best equipment here, I think it's an easy answer. I mean, it's not even close. Who has the best equipment?
I think it's Alfredo.
Yes, it is Alfredo. Look, we don't know. We exactly.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, we don't know what Suarez, but I would argue that he has more money behind him than anything front row has ever had behind it. Even with the Daytona 500, all that money's going to McDowell. That's not going to the team.
Well, again, that's another. We don't know that. Let's just keep it in the conversation of who has had better car. I mean, Front Row Motorsports has been in the team for over a decade. They've been building cars. They built multiple cars to Daytona 500. We don't know about the Trackhouse car. We don't know about the Spire car. But if we had to guess, we'd lean towards them not being very good. We know Front Row's had good cars. We know that Front Row had really good intermediate high downforce cars last year. McDowell so if we look at value plays, under $7,000, scoring the top 20 in DFS points. 29 times McDowell was priced below $7,000. 20 times he had a top 20 DFS day. 20 times. If I can get a top 20 DFS day out of Alfredo, I will take it. Nemechek was pretty good in these. So I can't pull up Nemechek's stats because he's not on the. Well, I can probably just type in Nemechek, but Nemechek had that awesome day at the first Darlington race. High downforce, big time tire wear. He was running well in the second Darlington race before he wrecks. Had a top 20 day at Homestead. He had plenty of good performances. Front Row has this package pretty dialed in. The concern is Alfredo is probably the least talented, definitely the least experienced of this group. I would love never ridden this car. If Lejoy was in this car, it would be awesome.
And we've seen Alfredo run the high side in the Xfinity Series very well at this track, but he does get in the wall as well. I mean, it's the same argument everybody has, but Alfredo having no experience with this package at all, he doesn't know about the aero push or how much that's going to affect the car, and just the ownership on him. I think that's where.
Well, I think if anyone's going to be safe, Suarez might be crazy, typically is. I think Alfredo will probably have the safest approach to this race. All right, we spent too much time on this. I'm Alfredo. I think you're Suarez. Correct?
Yeah, that's where we're at. Let's talk about Chastain. We got to try
cash-wise. Let's say cash-wise. Which one would you take?
Alfredo.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Chastain question. If I end up there, I end up there. I can see how it works. This equipment's halfway decent, but again, it's Ross Chastain. He'll likely get in the wall. I mean, I don't know what his approach is going to be at intermediate tracks. It's hard to tell. The Xfinity Series, he always had to push it too much. And did it at Homestead last year, would damage his car, fall apart. I don't know. Matt Kenseth couldn't get anything out of this car last year. How can Ross Chastain?
Matt Kenseth, champion Matt Kenseth couldn't do
He's
anything.
Raced these high downforce things before. He was around in 2015. I don't know. It's there. I would rather go to Austin Dillon. I'd rather go to Chase Briscoe. I'd rather go to Eric Almirola. But Chastain is there.
Yeah, let's see. We got some questions about Hoff and JJ. Like, look, if you're down there, I mean, something's going wrong. I know we talk about BJ just because he was popping off, but I think I'm not a big fan of punting in this race.
Well, they're probably looking and saying, "Hey, well, he finished 33rd last year. If he can get up there," but it's going to be a no for me. Where's JJ starting? I even have him in my sheet.
Oh, I saw maybe they were talking about yesterday.
Oh,
maybe I don't know. I saw
Hoff. Really good equipment. Really good equipment. That Rick Ware car is not a punt car. DraftKings always prices it like that, just because he did a lot of parking for RSS, and their algorithm sees all that parking that he did, and they factor it in every time. All right. But then what happens eventually in the season? His ownership, people take advantage of it, and their algorithm figures out that we're screwing up, and they'll jack his price up. Mm-hmm. Happens every year.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good question for you: is Larson being severely overlooked, or is he just too expensive?
I don't know. So this would be I don't read as much as I should. I don't look at what everyone else is touting. I have no idea what the field is saying about Larson. I don't even have my mind made up on Larson. I liked him a lot better in these low downforce races. He was okay in 2019, but again, that was a championship race. His engine expired. We don't really. It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know what anyone else is saying because I don't even know what I think. Where are you at on Larson?
I don't know either. I see there's more things pointing to him with a no, or more negative things pointing his way than positive things. This is a situation same with Alfredo and guys that I said earlier, is after this race, we'll know where these guys are. I don't think Larson wins this race. I don't think he gets fast laps because he hasn't been in these types of cars in almost a year at this point. And I was asked, well, he always runs the high side in his late model. He's always running the high side in sprint cars, and he always gets the wall in the late model. Like, you can get away with that on dirt. I'm not really focusing on that aspect too much. I think Larson gets in the wall. I think him and Chastain have the highest risk of DNFing due to a flat tire after getting in the wall and just tearing their car up.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk. And we talked about this earlier in the week where he can lose fast laps to Reddick. He can lose fast laps just to the leaders. There's a lot. Like, it's just not as sure of a lock as it was. The place differential is sort of appealing here, but I could see him having a good day. I could see him helping you win money, but it's a little tougher for him to be absolutely optimal. And he can go out there and have an amazing race, but I don't think that's very probable. And so, I don't know if people were. I would rather take some of these guys I feel more confident leading a bunch of laps. I'd rather take Larson. Hasn't done the intermediate track no practice thing all season long. He doesn't know, like, these guys have all learned how to set their car up in a different way throughout stage 1, throughout stage 2, to communicate things. And so that's definitely a skill that Larson just doesn't have. And I think that's going to hurt him early on. Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions? The Lejoy punt car, we just went over that. It seems to be Suarez or Alfredo. And I'm a no on Lejoy.
Let me ask you this real quick. When it comes to lineup construction, how do you feel more comfortable playing this? Do you feel more comfortable paying up for like 2 or 3 9K guys and then kind of finding value in the 5 and 6K, or are you looking more towards, the 7 and 8K range for your builds?
For me,
or do you even know yet?
No, I don't know yet. I mean, I really want to get 2 of the guys I think are going to be awesome, whether that be Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, or Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., which I might be a fool for falling in love with Truex again, whatever. Or maybe it's Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. Then I'm probably going to take some of these obvious. So I'm sure other people are doing this. So let's just go through. I can't really do that. So Hamlin, let's not do it. Let's do Elliott. Let's make it hard on ourselves. If we go Hamlin, we go Elliott, we go Byron, we go Reddick. I think this is going to be a popular way, right?
Yes.
Because of his price.
What is that at right now? 38?
Maybe someone goes, that's 38,200. So that gives us what, 11,800 left.
It's probably. I think that's why I see a lot of people going to Alfredo.
Bubba Wallace, and that gives me 48. That doesn't work because then that's going to end up in BJ McLeod land. So, and I think people say, all right. They can say, all right, well, give me Denny Hamlin because I can't afford that. And then who's a little bit cheaper than Chase Elliott that can lead laps? Oh, well, Ryan Blaney. I'll take Bubba Wallace again at 7,000. I'm going to try still go with Byron and Reddick here. That gives me 5,400. And is that enough for – is that why the Corey Lejoy thing's happening?
Oh, maybe are people landing on him as well?
Boom, that's 50,000. Yeah, that's Corey Lejoy. I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I would – so if you're doing that, where would you change?
Let me see who you have highlighted real quick.
So Bubba Wallace – I think you're probably gonna have to either change Reddick or change out William Byron.
Yeah, and I think that's why I have so much ownership to Briscoe.
Yeah,
not even intentionally going there. I just liked him as a player.
You take out Briscoe, or you take out Byron, go to Briscoe. That gives you 7,300.
Yeah. So
that could be that really doesn't put you in. You can't get the Chastain. You just kind of got to redo the whole thing after that point. All right. So that's interesting. Let's run the optimizer with some people locked in. Let's exclude Elliott and see what's going to happen. And if we got any questions. So we've kind of talked if it. All right, cool. Open Solver. Oh, did they update Open Solver? Maybe it's open for everybody.
Oh, well, you just X'd out of it, so we don't know what they told you.
I never read it as soon as you. That'd be cool if Open Solver's finally reached their agreement with Google Chrome. You guys can easily install this thing on your own. Like, you don't have to program it. Once you just turn it on, it's already in the sheet for you. So that would be cool. Some of you guys already have access to it because you installed it a couple years ago. But if you didn't, it might be locked out.
Let's see why this is still going. Are you looking at Keselowski at all? Just
no.
Wondering. No.
Is that just going to be a miss on my part?
I'm not looking that way either. I wanted you to.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the tire wear tracks. He finished second, but hog rank 7th. I need more points, and I've got that in the sheet, so this is worth looking at. I wanted to talk about this earlier. We look at the hog points from these 1.5 mile tracks, and we can see, who is scoring the most, and that's really my pool. Are these guys? And I may be like, hey man, why is Hamlin so high if he really wasn't that good at these tracks? And that's a good point. Maybe we are being too crazy about Hamlin, but it's worth. Okay, if you're looking for the Hamlin fade, you look, he wasn't leading a lot of laps at these racetracks. Harvick was, to your point, loving Harvick. He hit more than he missed, but 2 of those were Michigan races where he always runs well, and I don't really care about Michigan. I value Michigan at absolutely nothing. And he ran well at Atlanta. Again, that's just
Harvick's track, yeah.
Darlington won. They nailed the setup. That was a weird race. You might even want to throw that away because that was post-COVID. See a lot of success from Martin Truex Jr., which that I like. Chase Elliott was a little bit more consistent as well, especially at the end of the year, which you're looking at. So maybe we should bump Elliott up. If we were talking about Harvick versus Hamlin, maybe it's Elliott, and then you have the conversation. I can put that on my board.
Let's see. Yeah, that's why I have
definitely one place to start.
Chase. Yeah, I have Chase ranked as my highest.
Okay. I probably need to look into that. Bowman was really good early on. I think you really need to look. I mean, Fontana, I know they have practice, but this is a tire wear track.
Even if you throw out
Charlotte, tire wear track. Charlotte, tire wear track. And then he fades. And I'm not too this is a part where, they're changing tracks so often. We're running all kinds of random different configurations, and you're having to guess right with the setups. And these intermediate tracks aren't really that comparable to the ones he kind of didn't run very well. And it looks like they kind of started to get it back better.
Back up, yeah.
So I don't hear a lot of talk about Bowman. I wrote about Bowman on my Patreon. Like, my spidey senses are kind of tingling here with Bowman. I know I don't have his projection very high. He was okay last year, and they just kind of missed the setup at the very end of the race. And if you think about it, like late night, the cool part, I don't think that's going to be. I think this race is going to be it's not going to be hot and slick. It's not going to be cool as the end portion of the Homestead race. I think it's going to be kind of somewhere in between. I don't know. We're probably getting too deep in the weeds, but I probably should amp up my hog rank at the high tire tracks. Alex Bowman, second most hog points. Not getting a lot of talk. I think he's going to get completely missed.
So I know I've talked up Alex. I'll probably listen to a lot of guys right after the show's over, but with me, and this is where I'm ranking the cars in terms of speed. At the end of the year, I have him ranked 5th at Darlington, 5th at Las Vegas 2, 5th at Kansas, and 8th at Texas 2. And that's kind of reflected in the hog points that you have on there of where you kind of see him coming back from having 0 to coming back with some speed. And most of those are fast laps because he was not leading. So if he's getting that,
fast laps are good when you're not leading. That's really
fast laps. I'm really high on Bowman. I actually have him ranked 5th entering this week. And I showed this on my video, so I'm not giving anything away, but I have Elliott first. I have Harvick second, or technically third in terms of where his car is at. And then here, let me give out the numbers actually. So I have Chase Elliott 2.5. I have Kevin Harvick 3.5, Martin Truex Jr. 4.5, Joey Logano 4.5, Alex Bowman 5.75 in terms of where I think they are in speed in the last 4 races last year.
We also need to mention that if Joey Logano doesn't block Denny Hamlin, or if Joey Logano doesn't block Chase Elliott at the end of last year's race, there's a possibility that Chase Elliott wins this race. So that needs to be said. I know Hamlin was catching him, but catching him and passing him, I mean, you look at stage one, if you look into lap by lap data, when Hamlin catches Blaney in I think it was stage one. Let me pull it up. Yeah. It took Hamlin forever to get around Blaney when people weren't blocking him. At the very least, if Logano doesn't intentionally block Elliott, it takes 10 laps probably. That's 10 laps worth of fast laps led possibly, or even more, that Elliott scores, and Elliott probably would have ended up scoring the most points. Let me see. Well, probably not. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, something to think about there. This is the thing. I mean, I know we're talking about these value guys, but really, if you can nail the hogs, then
yeah, you're good. If you could fix that, it solves a lot of your problems. Man.
What do the optimizers say when we exclude Elliott, which is stupid because I shouldn't have done that? Hamlin and Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Byron, Reddick. There's another reason like this. So people are trying to squeeze these guys in, and they're ending up with not enough money, and they're playing these jokers. And I think that's probably the wrong way. If you get that, you gotta change your method and say, I don't think this is going to work. I got to reverse something around here because I'm going to need top 10s from these guys. Maybe I can get away with one of my drivers not getting a top 10. Any other questions before we start wrapping this thing up?
Let's see. One guy's asking if you can play a single hog with 4 place differentials.
I would say no. Well,
yeah, I would say no.
Well, even if you did, like I got one guy that leads all the laps, you're still technically going to have a guy that runs a lot of fast lap points. I think what the guy's trying to do is play Kyle Busch and all these other guys. And if that works, then that means no one up front is earning fast laps. And we can just look at the hog data and see like the average for the car that scores the second most points is 35 points. How do you forfeit those 35 points chasing place different? The third car on average scores 28. So again, you're like, I get the place differential is awesome, but how about, I mean, just look at it this way. This is 35 place differential points. This is 28 place differential points. I don't even know if there's a guy on the board that can get 35 place differential points. Is there? Do I have anyone projected that high?
I mean, if Reddick,
Reddick is still just 28, but he's also going to get hog points too. So kind of, if you have him having an awesome day.
Do you think not paying? I told you.
No, I don't think that's going to win.
Early in the week, man, it was something. Do you think it's worth not chasing after DiBenedetto?
Yeah.
Or
I don't think you're going to be look, we can't even get DiBenedetto here, and we're still ending up with BJ McLeod. And that's with the discounted Denny Hamlin. Let's say you fade Denny Hamlin, which isn't the craziest thing as we kind of bumped up Chase Elliott. You're talking about Kevin Harvick. You play Elliott and Harvick. How are you going to get DiBenedetto in your lineup?
So there's an argument to be made that I might. I don't think I'm gonna play DiBenedetto, and there's an argument to be made that I might not play Byron, get more on Reddick, and then pay up for or have more salary left over to buy guys who are actually going to show up in a race.
Byron ran well here last year. Starting 31st. A lot more upside.
Yeah, do you need that 9K? I mean, I like Byron a lot, but
yeah, he might not. You might just end up with. I mean, that was the first person we pivoted off of when we were messing around.
Yeah,
Reddick is just—it's hard to get away from Reddick. It is. So yeah, Byron's going to be the first person you pivot off of. Mm-hmm. And pivoting to DiBenedetto doesn't really save you that much money, especially like if you're. Man. This is interesting. I hate it. Are we really? I would feel a little bit better if you could get up to Alfredo Suarez range. If I can get lineups where I can get up to there, I still don't like that either.
So I see lineups ending two different directions. It's either you're going to be in the 5K range with Alfredo, Lejoy, and Suarez, or you don't have enough left over and you're punting in the low fives and fours.
Here we go. Let's do something crazy. Let's try to turn off all these stupid punts and force it not to do dumb stuff. Game.
I'm game. Let's see how it goes.
Don't play. Are we going to let it play Alfredo? Let's not even do that. Let's say no Alfredo, no Lejoy, no Cody Ware, no Suarez. Like, I don't want any jokers. Did I take them all out? It's gonna give me Chastain, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna go. Who's cheapest there?
I don't want Haley. All right, let's run this thing and see. It's going to end up on Ryan Newman.
I think it's going to end up on Ryan
Let's run it first and see what happens. So these are things you guys can do if you have got the optimizer installed in Chrome, or you can install it on Microsoft Excel. This is a good way to just, because I'm having a hard time, like, how do we build this lineup without these jokers? Well, let's just make the computer create us a base model, and then we'll build from there. And so let's see, like, what is this lineup going to look like?
And you can do this through OpenSolver on his sheet, or if you have his MME tool, you can do it through there as well.
Or what?
Your MME tool?
Oh, yeah. You can use the MME tool. We'll do it, actually. That's kind of the way that a lot of people have been doing it, I think, because they don't have OpenSolver, but it's going to build a bunch of lineups, let you see a bunch of different things, and also show you ownership kind of ideas. All right.
Big rip. Let's see what this, it's Newman. It's got to be Newman.
All right, we got Hamlin and Elliott. We got Bubba Wallace. Yeah, it's Newman. It's Chase Briscoe. It's Tyler Reddick. How much money is left on the table? $300. That's not terrible.
That's not
Reddick,
bad, yeah.
Briscoe. That's probably going to be a pretty popular play if people are trying to get. All right, let's get Newman out of here. Where's it going to go from here? So that's an interesting build, guys, if you want to do that. You might want to write that one down. All right, we got rid of Newman. It's probably just going to go up $300 to whoever is 67.
Yeah.
Can't get the Jones. I wouldn't want to get the Jones. I mean, you look at Jones, didn't run well. He had all kinds of issues last year. And if you look closely at 2019 race, he got the lucky dog. Actually, he didn't get the lucky dog. His teammate Hamlin decided not to lap him, I think it was, or Truex. Truex allowed Jones to stay on the lead lap in that 2019 championship race. And that saved Jones. So he has not been good at this track. You can go back to when he was in that championship race against Suarez. He couldn't beat Suarez in the Xfinity Series, which is pretty crazy. He might have wrecked at the end of that, though, which, again, adds to Jones not being very good at Homestead.
Yeah, I think he did. I don't remember.
I think he wrecked at the end or had some sort of damage. Briscoe, Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Ricky Spinhouse. All right, let's get Spinhouse out of here and see where it goes. I don't like that one either. So a lot of constraints on the optimizer, but we're getting a general idea. Likes playing Hamlin and Elliott, obviously, because I've jammed in those holes.
Why is Nick pushing Jones that much? What is Jones? What is his price at?
Well, I guess the argument for Eric Jones is Bubba Wallace ran well in this equipment last year. I got that. But if you look at Eric Jones's races at this track, hasn't been that good. I mean, he blew 2 tires last year. He got close to the front at the end, though. Remember, he was about that. He got the lucky dog in stage 1. He was running right near the front at the end, and he had to pit. And that really killed lineups. And he's probably looking at those fast laps. Now, this is the one thing that I like to point out is people will, oh, well, look at all these fast laps. Eric Jones ran. He was on a different tire. I mean, yesterday during the broadcast, Eric Almirola, the lazy bum that he is. Well, if you looked at last year's race, Ryan Sieg was pretty fast. He had new tires. The rest had old tires. And they're saying that as like, they do a segment where, oh, okay, we got guys on new tires and old tires. Look at them go by. And none of them are pretending that Justin Haley is the best car on the track. They just know that he has new tires. What's this fucking... So I would assume, and I don't want to, say anything negative about anyone, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, look, Eric Jones had 13.5 pass laps. He must be pretty good. It's probably a tire sequencing thing. And I mean, I could be making the same mistake here too with Ryan Blaney. Like, oh, Ryan Blaney had 9.55. It could be a tire sequencing thing. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure Ryan Blaney was up near the front. He's got a 101.5 driver rating. That means he was running up near the front. He's one of the top rated drivers. His average running position is 8th place. Let's compare that to Eric Jones. Average running position was 15th, driver rating of 81, 13.5 haul. I mean, that should show off an alarm like,
that's
wrong here. Let's look at the lap data. He hasn't run well at this racetrack. He is in inferior equipment. Bubba Wallace was the last car on the lead lap last year. I don't know. Probably being too hard, but all right. What did the optimizer spit out? Busher. All right,
we are forcing it to use, less than half the field.
But that's where you're going to end up. If you want to try to get away from the junk, you're going to end up in Newman, Busher. It's like last week all over again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's deja vu. All right, any questions? I think we've covered everything. You got to get those hogs right. There's kind of some cheap value out there with place differential. Maybe it's going to be garbage plays at the bottom. That's usually not the case, though, right? Let's close out and see if there's any questions, and let's look and see how many times did those garbage plays work last year. I'm going to say probably almost never.
I don't think they did. Other than obviously if you take the plate tracks out, I don't think they worked. Yeah,
let's look at I think we're giving people a lot of valuable information. We may not be giving you the damn picks, but I believe we're giving you some pretty good research here. All right, we'll pull up the optimals from last year and see how many times these absolute ugly punts hit. And this is not going to be as scientific as it should be because we're squeezing for time. All right. Looking for an ugly guy that hits. For Lejoy 3 times. I don't think he's absolute ugly. I mean, I'm really looking for god awful. There it is. Nope. I mean, none of them. That was Daytona. I think that was that wasn't an ugly. So let's look and see. I guess the biggest question is Lejoy.
Does that include the plate tracks?
This is everything.
Yeah, so I think 2 of those Lejoys are plate tracks.
Let's see. So Lejoy Daytona was one of them. I think 2 of them were Daytona.
Yeah.
Michigan, which, and that was actually another Suarez one too. And Bubba Wallace, I want to look and see what happened in that race. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But
isn't that the one where the Penske drivers wrecked each other?
Yeah, I don't completely nothing coming to my mind. I apologize. And then so it's Michigan and where's the other one?
I even missed one.
Daytona, Pocono, and Michigan. And that's Lejoy. I mean, that's better than McLeod and those jokers who are never optimal. Suarez, there was a Kansas race where he pulled it off, and Michigan. And that Kansas race was a wreck fest, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wrecks out. I have a hard time playing those bums. It just didn't work. It never works. You need to at least get up to like Suarez this year should be better. You need to at least get up to Suarez, Alfredo, and Lejoy maybe. Yeah,
I think in general, Alfredo would probably be the lowest I'm willing to go.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Any final questions?
I don't think we have any final questions.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you. We'll do it again next week. So thank you guys.